Hello students, here is our first example from the normal distribution. The length of time it takes to find a parking spot on campus at 9 a.m. is normally distributed with a mean of 8.2 minutes and a standard deviation of 2.3 minutes. We want to show all 4 steps. So this is how I would expect you to answer each question on the test. To do your homework, you don't need to do all of the 4 steps. You can take shortcuts, but for the exams, I would like to see all 4 steps. A. What is the probability that a normally selected person finds a parking spot in more than 5 minutes? So step number 1, the first step is to graph the normal curve and annotate. So here is the mean. The mean is 8.2, and I will put the standard on the side, 2.3 minutes. That is the mean and the standard deviation. What is the probability that a normally selected person finds a parking spot in more than 5 minutes? So 5 minutes is represented with this line right here because it's less than 8.2. And then more than is basically the area to the right. So that would be step number 1. Step number 2 would be to convert the 5 into a z-score. So I will use this formula. So z is equal to x minus mu divided by sigma. In this case, x, which is the value here, is equal to 5 minus mu is the mean, which is 8.2 divided by the standard deviation, which is 2.3. So the answer here is approximately, and I would like you to round this to 4 decimal places. So I'm going to do the math here on this sheet. So this is equal to, remember, when you are doing the z-scores, you must surround the numerator and denominator with parentheses. Otherwise, you're going to have a mistake when you're computing these values. 5 minus 8.2, and then divide that by 2.3. You're going to get this number. You're going to round it to 4 decimals. So I'm going to go here and make sure it is rounded to 4 decimals, which is, in my case, it is already rounded. So this is equal to negative 1.3913. So that is the second step. Then I would like you to write the formula. So the formula in this case, number 3, since I would like to find the area to the right, I know that the area to the right is equal to 1 minus the area to the left. So this is equal to 1 minus norm dot s, because I turned this into a z-score, dot distribution of the z-score, negative 1.3913, comma, true. And then click enter. So that is what I'm going to compute right here. This is equal to 1 minus norm distribution, norm.s.distribution, because I would like to find the area. And then I will click on the z value, comma, true. You can put 1 there, type 1, or click on the word true and then click enter. And that is the probability. So, or the area. So this is equal to, and I would like you also to round this to 4 decimals, which is going to be 0.9179. Now the last step is to state the answer. So you're going to say the probability that a randomly selected person finds a parking spot in more than 5 minutes is the answer that I have, or you can turn it into a percentage. So the probability that a randomly selected person finds a parking spot in more than 5 minutes is or 91.79%. So you can write it as a decimal number or turn it into a percentage. So that would be the first part. Okay, so I would like to see all of this work for the first part. I hope that is clear. So same for the second part. So I will erase this and then I will redo the process again, but for part B. Part B, what is the probability that it takes between 6 and 10 minutes to find a parking spot? So step number 1, I will graph the distribution and annotate. So the middle is the mean, 8.2. The standard deviation is on the side, 2.3. And now I would like to find the probability, which is similar to saying I would like to find the area that it takes between 6 to 10 minutes to find a parking spot. So 6 is below 8.2 and 10 is slightly above 8.2. So I essentially want to find this area right here. So that is step number 1. Then step number 2. Step number 2, I now need to find the z-score for x is equal to 6 and the z-score for x is equal to 10. So the z-score for 6 first is equal to 6 minus 8.2 over the standard deviation. And I'm going to compute this here really quick. Remember to put parentheses over the numerator and denominator. 6 minus 8.2 divided by 2.3. I basically could have done this a little bit differently, but now I'm going to round this to 4 decimals, which is going to be negative 0.9565. So we're going to round each z-score to 4 decimal places. Step number 2 still, I need to find the z-score for 10. So that is 10 minus 8.2 divided by 2.3. And I will do that here again. What I could have done differently, I could have typed the mean and the standard deviation in 2 cells, and I could have kept using them over and over again. So 10 minus, and then click on the mean, close it, divided by the standard deviation. That way it's a little bit easier. So 0.7826. I'm rounding to 4 decimal places. Step number 3 is to compute. So the area in between is going to be equal to area between is equal to area to the left of 10 minus area to the left of 6, which I can translate into, this is going to be equal to, the area to the left of 10 is norm dot s dot distribution of the z-score that represents 10, which is 0.7826 comma true. I'm going to put t to represent true, minus norm dot s dot distribution of the number that represents the 6, or the z-score that represents 6, which is negative 0.9565 comma true. So I'm just going to type these in here to compute it. Norm dot s dot distribution of the first z-score, which is this one, that is the one that represents the 10, and then comma 1 to represent it's true, and then norm minus norm dot s dot distribution of the second z-score, comma 1. So now I have my answer. It is approximately, I'm going to round it to 4 decimals, 0.6137. Or in other words, 61.37%. And that would be the answer for the second one. So again, the last step, which is number 4, you're going to state that you're going to say the probability that it takes between 6 and 10 minutes to find a parking spot is 61.37. I don't have enough space to write that, but I would like you actually to write full sentences, please. The last part I will erase again and then come back to answer the very last part of this question. Part C, 72% of the time it takes less than how many minutes to find a parking spot. So now we have the probability and we would like to find the number of minutes it takes to find a parking spot. So the first step for C is to graph. So here is the curve. 75% of the time it takes less than what number? So here is the mean in the middle, 8.2, the regular one, and then 2.3, the standard deviation. This is a must. And then I will assume anywhere there is a number x, and then this is less than that number of minutes. And that was given to me, which is 72%, or I can write it as a decimal, which is 0.72. So 72% of the time, what is the number that it takes less than that number to find a parking spot? So the x here is representing the number of minutes it takes. It could be bigger than 8.2. It is actually, because 72% is more than 50%. So let me make this more accurate. So 72% is bigger than 50%. It's approximately here. And that should be x here. Okay. Less than means I will highlight the area to the left of that line. So here is the sketch. Now I would like to find this x. Notice that I need the x and I was given the probability, so I will use the inverse function in this case. So you can basically say the first step here, or the second step here is the first step. The second step here is to find the z-score that represents this x. So you're going to say I will find the z-score that represents that x, which you will use norm dot s dot inverse of 0.72. So that is just to find the z-score that represents that x. Notice since I'm using the area to the left of the missing number, I don't need to change that number. I don't need to change the this number, because that number is supposed to be the area to the left always. If I don't have that area and instead I have the area to the right, this one that I'm going to highlight now, then you must first find the area to the left by saying 1 minus the area to the right, and then you're going to plug it into this formula. So if you plug that in the formula, I'll do the math here, equals norm dot s dot inverse of 0.72. I will get a z-score is approximately, I'm going to round it to 4 decimal places, 0.5828. And then number 3, step number 3 is to convert. Now we're going to convert the z-score into an x. We're going to use this formula. X is equal to z times the standard deviation plus the mean. So it's equal to 0.5828 times 2.3 plus 8.2. I will do the math here. So this is equal to the z-score times the mean times the standard deviation plus the mean. I did it backwards. The standard deviation plus the mean. and I get 9.5. So I will round it to 2 decimals because it just makes sense because we're working with time. So this is going to be approximately 9.54 minutes. So the final step here, you're going to type or write the sentence answer. You're going to say 72% of the time it takes less than 9.54 minutes to find a parking spot. So basically you're just going to remove this one and replace 9.54. Okay, I'm just showing you how to do it. The expectation on a test is to write these 4 steps completely. So on your homework, feel free to take shortcuts. However, on your test, I would like to see these details written down. I hope this video helped you, and I will see you in a different video. If you need any help, please let me know.